was sitting on the side of the road closest to the sidewalk. She said, "Mommy, a man on the ground, there's blood, and I think he was shot." And I immediately turned into the nearest driveway. And she said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, we're going to turn around." And so we turned around, and I found my phone and called 911.
Now, Heather, who's a trauma therapist, says she then drove her daughter to school. You'll hear more from them at 5 o'clock today. In the meantime, investigators out here gathered at least 6 pieces of evidence. They tell us they're still trying to figure out the suspects as well as the motive, and they're also trying to identify if the man was a resident of the area. Aisha?
All right, Paula, thank you for that update. More breaking news right now out of Broward County, Florida. A jury rejects the death penalty for convicted Parkland school shooter Nicholas Cruz. Cruz pleaded guilty to killing 17 people at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School back in February of 2018. Today, the jury recommended life in prison without parole. Some of the families of the victims were in the courtroom, and you could just see the disappointment with that decision, holding their heads in their hands. This ends a 3-month trial, including graphic videos from that day and emotional testimony from the victims' families. A judge will formally sentence Cruz on November 1st. Stay connected to 11Alive by downloading the 11Alive app. You can do it now by scanning that QR code you see right there on your screen. With your phone's camera, it'll take you directly to the App Store to download it so you can have instant updates on stories in your area. Just in this noon, Atlanta rapper Gunna is back in court. His lawyer once again requesting bond ahead of his Rico trial. The music artist, whose real name is Sergio Kitchens, was one of dozens indicted on Rico charges earlier this year. He's been in the Fulton County Jail since his arrest back in May, accused of being part of the Young Slime Life street gang, along with fellow rapper Young Thug. We have a team in the courtroom right now listening to those arguments from Gunna's lawyer. We'll keep you updated with what is said and if a judge makes that decision on bond. All right, let's get you outside on this nice Thursday, Friday Eve. Started out with some much needed showers, Melissa. I remember working with you a couple weekends ago. We were talking about how we needed the rain, and here we got it.
Absolutely. And our drought monitor that came out this morning had that moderate drought expanding into the metro. But look, we had 2 rounds of rain, one yesterday afternoon, which delayed the Braves game, but then overnight another round of rain, and the combination of these two gave us a good inch plus in a lot of parts of the metro area. But now we're seeing that all the rain is out of the picture, but there's still a cold front that has to pass through this afternoon. So you're seeing outside right now a bit of cloud cover, but I'll tell you the clouds will gradually be eroding away the rest of the afternoon. Currently 66 in Atlanta. West winds are starting to pick up at 12 miles per hour, and it is going to be a breezy rest of our afternoon, ushering in a drop off in the humidity. 71 in Rome. It's currently 66 in the city, 70 in Covington, and just 64 up in Blairsville. But let me take you through the rest of the afternoon. Gradually between now and about 3 o'clock, you're going to notice a big difference in that cloud cover outside. Yes, it is cloudy right now, but by the time the kids are getting off the bus this afternoon, we should see brighter skies. It's going to be breezy, and we'll kick those temperatures back up into the mid 70s. Stick around though. We've got some weather whiplash coming up. 80s, but also maybe some 30s showing up on the 7-day. We'll talk about that in just a bit. Aisha?
All right, Melissa, we'll see you soon. Thank you. New heartbreaking developments in the search for a missing toddler from Savannah. After more than a week of holding out hope, police say they believe the child, Quentin Simon, is dead, and they're naming the child's mother as the prime suspect. No arrests have been made, no charges on record, but the boy's body still has not been found. We've been following this story ever since the 20-month-old was first reported missing last Wednesday. His mother, Leilani Simon, told police she woke up, her little boy was gone. Investigators plan to hold a news conference coming up at 1 o'clock. You can follow the latest developments with us and on 11alive.com. A disturbing story today, this one coming out of Lithia Springs. Police say 3 suspects are being held without bond in connection to a body found tied up with duct tape. Officers discovered the body last month at a home off East County Line Road. They've identified the victim as Styles Stilley. The 3 people you see right here are now in custody facing a slew of charges, including murder, kidnapping, and car theft. So far, deputies have not said how Stilley died. We'll keep you updated as soon as we do learn more. Only on 11Alive, the GBI and Barrow County detectives are bringing in some heavy machinery to search for a missing mother of 3. Cherish Randy was last seen in the middle of April before her mom reported her missing. Several agencies are now involved in this case. 11Alive's Cody Elkhorn went to Barrow County for the latest on the search.
She was so funny. She was like a comedian. I mean, remember?
Robin West is holding on to the good memories of her daughter.
She was a wonderful person.
Robin reported her daughter Cherish Randy as missing on April 21st, 6 days after she last heard from her.
I just don't know what happened to her.
Robin says the last place her daughter was seen alive was at the home she shared with her husband on Amber Cove Way in Flowery Branch.
Just walked away down the driveway without a phone, without a purse, without anything. She just disappeared. Walked into thin air.
I stopped by the house.
I'm with 11Alive News, and we're doing the disappearance of Cherish Randy.
Yes.
And we understand this is the last place she was seen alive.
Yes.
The woman who answered simply said, yeah. I asked if Cherish's husband was home, but I was told no.
Now, have you guys seen her, heard from her?
Yeah.
The woman told me the last time they saw Cherish, she ordered an Uber and left.
And it just breaks my heart. I mean, I've got to find her.
11Alive confirmed the Barrow County Sheriff's Office and the GBI searched a property this week after receiving tips in Cherish's disappearance. They said nothing came up in the search. Another disappointment for a mother who believes something bad happened to her daughter.
Gone. I know she is. I can feel it from the depths of my soul. She's gone. I want to put her to rest. I just want to find her.
There is a $10,000 reward being offered for information on Randy's disappearance. Anyone who knows anything is urged to contact the Hall County Sheriff's Office. That number you see right there on your screen is 770-297-4690. Right now, final preparations are happening as the Atlanta Medical Center gets ready to close the doors to its emergency room. The plan is to shut operations down starting at 7 a.m. tomorrow. We've learned AMC has implemented a real comprehensive plan to get the community ready in these final days. The hospital is sending direct mailers to people within a 5-mile radius to let them know about the emergency room shutting down and where they can get care next. AMC is also sending out flyers and posters to community partners like shelters and food banks. They're also working to reduce the number of patients seeking care before they officially close on November 1st. As of right now, AMC tells us they have fewer than 50 patients with plans in place to move them. The hospital went on to say that caregivers will remain on site to provide care to inpatients and will transport those patients to other facilities they need for that emergency care. Meanwhile, Grady Hospital is getting ready for the potential influx of patients. They're going to be the only level 1 trauma center left. We are learning 41 new beds will be added to the hospital by the end of next week. New at noon, Social Security recipients can expect a pretty big benefit boost next year. Just in the last few hours, the Social Security Administration announced checks will increase by 8.7%. That is the largest increase in Social Security payments in 40 years. The spike is expected to boost retirees' monthly payments by $146 to an estimated average of about $1,800 for 2023. Happening in the next hour, the 9th and final January 6th public hearing. We're going to take you to D.C. for what to expect next.
It's where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11Alive can verify that claim is false.
11Alive News at 11 p.m., where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality, sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across Metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing in.
We could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
How you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
heavy storms are rolling in.
Expect pop-up thunderstorms and rain all day long.
And how you'll be weather ready wherever you are.
We expect at any moment a tornado warning could be issued.
The 11Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you'll be prepared and stay safe. 11Alive Morning News.
We began with breaking news this morning.
Is where you know what's happening now.
11Alive is live on the scene.
Where you can confidently plan ahead
This severe weather is intensifying.
by knowing what's coming overhead. And where Atlanta's traffic expert
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you get there on time, every time. 11Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11Alive News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11Alive News app to use Near Me.
11Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now...
Where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to a...
And the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11Alive can verify that claim is false.
11Alive News at 11 p.m. Where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11Alive Thunder Truck, a mobile weather center with the power and...
Looking now at a cloudy day in D.C., this is a live look at the U.S. Capitol, where in the next hour, the 9th January 6th hearing will start. It's expected to be the House Committee's final hearing. NBC's Bree Jackson is there with what we can expect.
A stark warning about the January 6th attack at the U.S. Capitol.
We have to fix our institutions and put up the guardrails and ensure that the cracks that were exploited this time are sealed.
The House committee investigating the deadly insurrection holds what's expected to be their final public hearing this afternoon.
To go a little deeper into what people knew, when they knew it, and what decisions they made.
So far, they've conducted more than 1,000 interviews with 100 known subpoenas sent. Today's hearing is expected to feature more surveillance video, new evidence, including Secret Service records and testimony.
We've been able to fill in gaps that maybe were things we suspected but didn't fully know.
Documentary footage of Trump ally Roger Stone will also be featured, tracking his activity leading up to the attack.
The voting, let's get right to the violence.
Committee members want to show links between far-right extremist groups and Trump allies.
This egregious assault on our democracy.
The committee also plans to hammer home its case that former President Trump played a central role in inciting rioters, who in turn stormed the U.S. Capitol, inflicting violence on the officers protecting it. Trump calls the hearings an attempt by critics to stop him from running again.
No other president has ever been treated like this.
The latest hearing comes less than a month before midterm elections.
It's all through a TV screen, so it's not as tangible as the gas prices are when I go to the tank.
Committee members believe Trump's false claims about widespread voter fraud present an ongoing threat. In Washington, Bree Jackson for NBC News.
Back here at home, we have brand new courtroom sketches as a jury was just selected for the federal trial of suspended Clayton County Sheriff Victor Hill. Here is a look inside. Hill is on trial accused of violating the civil rights of 7 detainees inside the Clayton County Jail. They say he ordered them to be placed in a restraint chair for hours at a time, leading to pain and injuries. None of the jurors selected are from Clayton County, but we do know their makeup. Of the 15 jurors, 10 are women and 5 are men. 9 of the 15 are white, 5 are black, and 1 is South Asian. The trial is expected to last around 2 weeks. Right now, the city of Roswell is making some major changes that will affect the safety of everyone who lives there. Did you know it is the largest city in the U.S. without a full-time fire department? But now, as 11Alive's Jerry Carnes shows us, the city is taking some steps to change that.
It looks like any other big city fire department with bright red trucks loaded with gear. But unlike other big cities, in Roswell, these trucks are manned by people who aren't always focused on fighting fires.
This is their second job. That began to get much more complicated and very hard for us sometimes to get people served here.
For decades, Roswell has relied on volunteer firefighters along with help from other nearby departments.
The weekends roll around or holidays, it's hard to maintain that consistent staffing, so we have to put some of our apparatus out of service.
That's changing. Step 1, the swearing in of 19 staff members, along with the hiring of 21 additional fire captains now in training. The city has a 5-year plan to create a full-time fire department. In November, voters will decide on a $52 million bond referendum that would renovate 4 fire stations and build a public safety center for fire, police, 911, and EMS.
What that looks like is probably an additional 114 full-time firefighters added to the city of Roswell,
which will erase this town's distinction as the largest city in the United States without a full-time fire department.
The city says transitioning to a full-time department will not only mean faster, more reliable response times to emergencies, but also lower insurance rates for homeowners. The Atlanta Braves got a much-needed win against the Phillies last night. Now the National League Division Series is tied at 1 game apiece. All of the runs came in the 6th inning. The pitching and defense took over after that, and you can't forget about that catch from Austin Riley at third base. 3-0 was the final. Fans leaving happy after waiting out a long rain delay, more than 3 hours. The series now shifts to Philadelphia for games tomorrow and Saturday, Melissa.
And you know, we got the series game number 5, tentatively Sunday. I think 4:37 is when they're talking about first pitch. Great weather for that. But yesterday we did have a rain delay that lasted for more than 3 hours. But we needed the rain. Look at these rain totals. We picked up officially just over 1.1 inches at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, but you notice a lot of our suburbs picked up over an inch, so it was a really good beneficial rain. The rain amounts were a little bit less out in eastern Georgia, and unfortunately that's where we really needed even more rain, because look at the latest drought monitor that just came out this morning. This is based on data from Tuesday, so before yesterday's rain and the overnight rain that we got, but it has the moderate drought expanding throughout the metro and into eastern Georgia, even a little bit of that level 2 severe drought showing up out in far eastern Georgia. So next week's drought monitor will take into account the rain that we picked up today and yesterday. We really needed it, though, because things have been very dry out there. But now looking ahead towards your weekend, the dry air is moving back in. And it's going to be dry for a couple of days. So the cold front is actually moving through right now as we speak. We're not going to squeeze out any more showers, I don't think, with it. But the stubborn clouds that you're seeing outside right now, those will not be an issue by your evening commute later on. You notice here looking towards Midtown and downtown skyline, we've got a lot of clouds, but I'm starting to notice a couple of thinner spots. So the clouds are going to thin out as the front moves through. 66 right now. West winds are at 12 miles per hour, and it will turn breezy as those clouds are clearing out. We'll have some gusts this afternoon out of the northwest, about 15 to 20 miles per hour, ushering in that drop off in humidity that will last for the end of the week and start of the weekend as well. So next few hours for us, climbing up from the 60s into the 70s with brightening of skies, but it will be breezy as you're driving home later on. Let me talk about the high temperatures the next couple of days, because we're actually going to have a pretty warm weekend ahead. Look at our temperatures. After mid-70s today, we're going to be in the mid-70s again tomorrow. Then over the weekend, we climb up around 80 for Saturday and Sunday. So that's about 5 degrees above average. But then the next front comes in Monday morning, and look at what that starts to do to our temperatures. It's a sharp drop off by 10 degrees, and it gets even cooler than that beyond. I want to look ahead to next week, because this is an outlook, our 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, which goes to the mid to latter half of next week. You see this big blue, dark blue bullseye right over us across North Georgia. That means we will likely see cooler than average temperatures, big dip in the jet stream. I'm talking about highs in the 60s and low temperatures that could potentially drop widespread into the 30s in the suburbs starting next Wednesday morning. So you'll notice that on the 7-day, that big difference coming in. But in the meantime, we're going up the roller coaster before we go back down. So it's a bit of weather whiplash the next week. Don't put those shorts away just yet. You might want them with that late afternoon game on Sunday out at Truist Park, rather. And the next week, front moves through Monday morning, and Aisha, 60s for highs Tuesday and Wednesday.
All right, you know what we say, Melissa, sweater weather. Thank you. Well, right now, America's largest drugstore is fighting what's known as the pink tax. It is actually not a tax, but it's when things cost more for women than they do for men. We're talking things like razors, deodorant, and body wash. Now, CVS is working to change that. Certain items, including tampons, are often taxed as a luxury item and are not recognized as a basic necessity. Luxury, really? So the pharmacy chain says it plans to drop the prices on CVS brand for menstrual products nationwide. The company also plans to pay the sales tax on those products in a dozen states, including here in Georgia. Some Metro Atlanta officers will be wearing pink today when you see them around town. It is to show support for breast cancer survivors and loved ones lost to the disease. Joe Ripley spoke with a couple of Sandy Springs officers that will be donning a pink badge for special reasons.
Officer James Graham joined the Sandy Springs Police Department in 2006. He felt the calling as a teenager, but nothing could have prepared him for the call that his wife was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Didn't think much of it because people beat it.
So we figured we'd get ready for the fight, and but she had a bad one, so she had about 5 years of fighting before we lost her.
Tiffany Graham was first diagnosed when she was 35 years old. There's now a high likelihood her daughter could also get breast cancer.
On the streets and stuff, I always could take care of that. I never had an issue. I didn't think this would come up. It wouldn't happen to me kind of thing. And then when it did, and I was so helpless, it just threw me on the back of my heels.
Officer Brian Crisp carries on even after losing his grandmother to cancer. His aunt was also diagnosed with the disease.
It's good to have family support when you're going through situations like this, and hopefully they can beat it.
Crisp, Graham, and nearly 40 other Sandy Springs police officers bought custom pink police badges marking their support for survivors and celebrating lost loved ones. 11Alive medical correspondent Dr. Sujatha Reddy says about 300,000 people will be diagnosed with breast cancer this year nationwide. She urges people to research their family history and learn more about the disease that she says impacts everyone in some way.
To get that yearly mammogram, that has helped us diagnose breast cancer at an earlier stage. And we do best treating all cancers if we find it quickly and at an earlier stage than obviously at a later stage where it's much harder to treat.
Everybody's going to suffer through it. It's just, we're not exempt.
Coming up, a mission to change and save lives. How one local effort to raise money for cystic fibrosis is having a lasting impact decades after it started.
What's happening now across Metro Atlanta,
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now...
where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to a...
And the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11Alive can verify that claim is false.
11Alive News at 11 p.m., where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality, sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across Metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing in.
We could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
How you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
heavy storms are rolling in.
Expect pop-up thunderstorms and rain all day long.
And how you'll be weather ready wherever you are.
We expect at any moment a tornado warning could be issued.
The 11Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you'll be prepared and stay safe. 11Alive Morning News.
We began with breaking news this morning.
Is where you know what's happening now.
11Alive is live on the scene.
Where you can confidently plan ahead
This severe weather is intensifying.
by knowing what's coming overhead. And where Atlanta's traffic expert
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you get there on time, every time. 11Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11Alive News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11Alive News app to use Near Me.
11Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now...
where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to a...
And the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11Alive can verify that claim is false.
11Alive News at 11 p.m., where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why
An Atlanta company is funding life-saving research for cystic fibrosis. CF causes damage to the lungs, making it really hard to breathe. But now people are breathing better and living longer thanks to their 30-year commitment to do more and help kids like Brax. Cheryl Preheim has today's Hero Central.
Long before Brax Pope could play or talk, he was teaching his parents a lot. Brax is nonstop, like any happy 2-year-old.
You would have no idea he had CF.
Cystic fibrosis, a rare disease that attacks the lungs.
Just want your little baby to have a bright future.
A vest shakes Brax to clear mucus from his lungs, part of his daily routine, along with a lot of pills.
That doesn't hold him back.
It's medicine that did not exist a few years ago.
There's so much hope. They're working towards a cure.
That hope is the result of work happening in Atlanta decades before Brax was born.
We know that that's the difference in saving his life. And that's all possible because of people like the Choates.
They started Choate Construction in Atlanta in 1989, the same year they committed to raise money for CF research in honor of Leanne, Emily Choate Bridges' best friend.
I see Leanne in every CF patient.
Leanne loved the fundraiser Cars and Q for the cause and hoped for a cure. Researchers discovered a life-changing treatment, a pill, shortly after Leanne passed away.
Her spirit lives on in these new CF patients.
The new medicine helps Brax and 90% of CF patients. The goal is to help all.
We are at the 10-yard line and we've got to get it over the goal.
His parents hope one day Brax will live in a world with a cure.
Thank you, Brax.
Right now at noon, we are following breaking news in Buckhead, where a man was just found shot dead outside a home. We are live on the scene with new details right after the break.
And Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality, sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across Metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing in.
We could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
How you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
heavy storms are rolling in.
Expect pop-up thunderstorms and rain all day long.
And how you'll be weather ready wherever you are.
We expect at any moment a tornado warning could be issued.
The 11Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you'll be prepared and stay safe. 11Alive Morning News.
We began with breaking news this morning.
Is where you know what's happening now.
11Alive is live on the scene.
Where you can confidently plan ahead.
This severe weather is intensifying.
By knowing what's coming overhead. And we're Atlanta's traffic expert.
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
Helps you get there on time. Every time. 11Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
If you see breaking news or severe weather near you, snap it and share it using Near Me on the 11Alive News app. Want to verify if something's true or false? Record your question and send it. Download the 11Alive News app to use Near Me.
11Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now...
Where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to a...
And the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11Alive can verify that claim is false.
11Alive News at 11 p.m. Where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow.
Weather can't run from the 11Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge. Fighting social inequality is on all of us. That's why 11Alive is committed to sharing diverse perspectives, exposing injustice, and finding solutions. Voices for Equality, sponsored by Georgia Power and our other partners.
The 11Alive Storm Trackers. It's how you see weather happening now across Metro Atlanta.
These severe storms are now closing in.
We could be talking about damaging winds, hail, and
How you can plan ahead by knowing what's coming overhead.
heavy storms are rolling in.
Expect pop-up thunderstorms and rain all day long.
And how you'll be weather ready wherever you are.
We expect at any moment a tornado warning could be issued.
The 11 Alive Storm Trackers.